Let's build API authentication system in fresh Laravel application. So while installing new Laravel installation with Laravel installer, if you choose the Laravel breeze and the option just below this API only, then what you'll get is this HTTP controllers, and inside auth you have these couple of controllers which handle all API authentication related things. So if you go to web.php, it registers this route auth.php, which contains all these auth related route. And what I will do is, we don't need these kind of routes, because we'll need route, but this authentication system is related to a single page authentication, or it authenticates using session. So it is perfectly fine if you are building your own single page application. But if you are designing API for other use cases, like for mobile application or any other case, if you want to use token based authentication, then this is not suitable. So in today's video, what I will do is, I will utilize or leverage already existing code to build token based authentication. So we have everything set up for the authentication. We have a sanctum install, and let's go. And what I will do is, I will disable this route. We don't need this in web. Instead, what we will do is, let's go to api.php. We'll need these routes in api.php. Let's see where it is. Yeah, here we go. Now if we see PHP artisan route list, we will have all the necessary route for API authentication. You can see over here, for email verification, for login, logout, register with API prefix. Very good. We don't need this CSRF token and this route, because in API we don't need CSRF. So first thing, for register, what we will need here is, this code is totally fine. If you choose, you can just transfer this into API folder, just to make things easier. So whenever user registers with name, email, password, everything will be same, all these will be same. But here what we will do instead is, we don't need these two. So what we can choose is, we can choose to return the authentication token right when they register. Let's do that. For now, I will just put everything in data, and here token, and token will be this user create token. And for this particular email, we can say this like token for user email or username. There we go. So this token we will pass here. Oops. Response JSON, and pass in the data with 201 status. There we go. So in this case, we will be returning token. If you want, we can return user data as well. Name and email. For now, these two will be fine. So now our register endpoint is ready. Now let's go to the login. So here the name is authenticated session controller. For login, if you see on auth.php, for login authentication session, we can rename it. Let's rename this login controller. I'll just rename it. So since I'm using PHP Storm, it helps me to rename quite easily. So for login in, we will use store, and to log out we will use destroy. So first let's handle the logout. To log out, it's pretty easy. We will have the instance of user, and then we will access current access token and then delete it. Yeah, in some cases people just delete all the tokens, but we only want to delete the current access token, not all the token. So other tokens might be used in other places for other purpose, so we just need to delete the current access. So this handles logout. For login, we will, so here everything related to the rate limiting is here. It will attempt to check if user password is all good, otherwise throw the validation exception, and also handles rate limiting. So these things you don't have to write, it is all covered. So let's go back, and instead of this session, what we'll do is like we did for register, we will do same thing here. We need to pass these two data, and for here we will pass same thing, and we need to return JSON response. So user, here we will have user instance from the request. So let's see if this works. I will make a new variable user for just for now. So first what we need to do is just do the simple implementation first. Don't get just carried out in fixing everything and making everything perfect and then only. So we will do incremental change first. We will have to make things work. Okay, with just few lines of code, we have login and register. Even we have all other functionality in place, we just need to test it out. You can see here we have endpoint for login, forgot password, so we don't need to do much changes here. In other places we'll check in a moment, and yeah, everything looks good to me. So we just need to change the middleware here. For API we need auth sanctum, not just auth. So we need to replace it in these files. Wherever we are using auth, we need to use auth sanctum. So I will change all these with auth sanctum. Let's go to Postman and make a request. So here let's make first request to this endpoint. All good. It's API slash, let's first register any user. In order to register, we will need, first we need to make it post request. So register is post request. We can use raw JSON. Let's use raw JSON, it will work for everyone. So name, for some reason something went wrong. Okay, first thing, we forgot to put the header accept JSON. So if you don't put this header, see, you get no error and you are redirected to the home page and you have no idea like what is happening. So first thing, make sure the header is accept application JSON, and now if you set, it will say us like password field doesn't match password confirmation. So we need to have another field, password confirmation, and this should match password. And make sure so previously I have typo, I was missing this return statement, so now I have put it back. everything as it is. Let's go ahead and try this out. User create token. So if you get this kind of issue, you might be missing a you might be missing this trait that needs to be has API tokens. So this is the trait that you need to put on user model. So while installing application, it probably say to us like put this on user model as a trait, but we didn't do that at that time. So now let's go ahead and make the request. This time it should, yeah. So it created the user but failed at the creating token part, but we are trying to register with same email, so it says user already exists. All right, so we need to change the email and hopefully it should create. Yeah, so it created user, and then we have the token. So this token will be used to log in. So you can choose according to application. If you don't want to return token on register, only on login, then you can just say user successfully registered, now log in with this credential and only generate token while logging in. So that makes sense. Yeah, we probably have to do that. Instead of generating token on register, we only need to generate on login. All right, so let's not do two steps. So if you choose to do that, totally fine. For now, I'll just send a message like user, let's say message user created, and we will send the user. So this email is already exist. I'll probably get rid of. So user created, and then this is the user, and then user already know the password. They will use this email and then log in. Okay, now let's try login. We probably create duplicate this tab. This time login. Go to body, email, same, but this time we only need email and password, and let's log in. Maybe we have some error on JSON. Okay, so here create token on null, meaning we don't have user object yet. Let's go to login controller. So in this step we have authenticated user successfully. So from request we are getting these two. Okay, so we did small mistake here. We do not get user from user object, but we need to fetch it from user where email equals to request email, because we make sure that there is email, and this is to make sure we have email, and here we get the user with email and we create the token. Now let's go ahead and create. Yeah, we are logged in. Now we get the token. This token will be used to send request to any authenticated route, which in our case is users or user. Let me confirm. Let's go to API. We have this user endpoint. It should return the correct user response. There we go. Yeah, post method is not supported, of course. Unauthenticated, let's put the authorization bearer token and then put this token. There we go. So now we are authenticated. So this is login and register part. Let's first handle email verification part. So to implement this email verification feature, you need this contract in user model. So we will first go to user model and implement must verify email, which is commented over here. Here I just uncomment this. Implements must verify email, and then so whenever user register, this event has been fired up. In our case, it is already fired up. If you are manually implementing this feature, then you need to fire it up manually, but here we are already firing up. So it will send us email with verification link, and whenever user hits that link, it will hit this link, and then it will mark it as verified. All right, so after user is registered, we will receive email like this. So if you see, the email got the verification link to our API endpoint, API application, right? So if we try to hit this endpoint, we will get this kind of error saying like not supported. So it is trying to log us in because this endpoint is protected, right? So what actually needs to happen is the client application needs to send API request to this endpoint which has been sent in email, right? So, and before doing that, the client application will also send the wearer token which will help authenticate the user. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to make few changes here. So if you see API, if you go to api.php, let me close this up. So here, this is the endpoint that needs to be hit from the client application. Right now it is getting sent on email, but what we need to do is we need to change this URL. This URL should redirect user to the client application. So to change URL, what we have to do is we need to go to app service provider, and there you might already see this create URL using, and this is what I have just written. So we can modify this verify email, create URL using, and then this closure accepts the notifiable object, and here we will use the verification URL that is getting sent by default. So this is the default URL that is getting sent that you see over here. What I will do is just pass this URL as a query parameter to our front-end URL. So this is the URL where the client, this should redirect them to some page where client application will just get this URL and just send the bearer token as well, and send the get request to this endpoint. So that is how it works. It can be any URL. You can configure this URL front end email verification URL. You can create that in your .env, but while installing it using Breeze, it automatically added this front end URL in my case. So yeah, so you might be wondering where I get this code. This code is inside here. So email verification notification controller, this controller will be hit when we try to resend email or when we directly try to send email when the user register. So when the user register, it will call this send email verification order. So if you go inside this class, there is verify email, and this to email class got this method, this verification URL, and from here you can get this verification URL. So you can just copy this and put it there. So what we are doing is we are overwriting that on app service provider, and it will not execute below code because here the function that we are currently defining in app service provider is getting called because we are because this is the default behavior of Laravel, and luckily they allow us to edit those. Now let's go back to app service provider, and I have pasted that link there and just pass it there. And while building our client application, we will actually implement this on front end part, but front end part is not that difficult. We can just call this using Postman. Now let's go to Postman. Now let's try to send again, try to verify. This time we should get the new URL. So I have just sent the register request from the client side. send it again by changing URL. Let's say dev1. Now if we see the mail, we just get the email. Let's refresh it, load new entry. Here we go. Now this time if we see, we got the local host and then verification URL is this. All right, so this we need to send from Postman with authentication token. All right, so now authentication token for this one will be obtained by by login in. So when we log in, we get this token. Now let's send the verification request to the URL that we just got from the link, and we need to send the bearer token as well that we just copied, which is this one. Now if we send request, yeah, successfully verified. How that is coming? If we go to this verify email controller, here we are putting these two response. So in default there might not be these two value, so there is this redirect one. I just removed that and added the JSON response, and now we are successfully verified. And if we now try to access any endpoint that requires the email verification, we should be able to access that. So this is verified, this requires verification. Now let's go to Postman and try to access that URL, which is this user, and the bearer token should be of the user who is just verified. There we go. Now we can access our content. All right, now let's see how to do the password reset. So in order to do password reset, we have these two controller over here, new password controller and password reset link. So password reset link, we will be sending post request to this endpoint to get the password reset link to the email, and after we get email, then we send request to this one, and then we can reset the password. All right, so like we do on email verification. So same thing for email verification as well. So yeah, one more thing, if you want to resend the verification link, then you need to hit this endpoint. All right, all these endpoints are again in auth.php. So this time we want to reset our password. So this link, let's try to reset our password. It's API and then forgot password. So this forgot password, we need to send our email only. So let's reset the password for this email. Right now we have this password is password only, and now let's send post request here. Yeah, we have email your password reset link. Now let's visit our email. Let's go to mail and let's check it, refresh. Yeah, 8 seconds ago we just got this email. All right, so here is our password reset link, which can be accessed by using that. All right, so this time it already sent our link to client side. You can see here we have this link, and the client application is now responsible for resetting the link. Right now if we hit this, nothing will work because we have no client application. So now this link, so to mimic the client application, we'll send it from Postman as always. Now let's see what needs to be done to obtain a new password. So to obtain new password, we require this token, which is the token that is sent on email. So after this point, this is token, the whole thing is token. All right, so the front-end application will obtain that token and then send here. Let's see what else we need. We need email, and the password, which will be the new password. All right, so these two can be automatically sent because we have these two data from our email. Yeah, so this endpoint needs to be hit. Let's go to Postman again, and this time we want to reset password, and we need email, we need token. The token will be, I will copy it from email for now. This whole thing will be token. Now we have token, and we require the two password that we like we do in our registration endpoint. Reset password. Now I will just to make thing faster, so this time password 2 will be new password. Now let's see if it resets. Yeah, your password has been reset. Now let's try to log in with these two password only. I will clear out these. I will send the request to login. Password 2, it should log us in. Password field is required, sorry. Password 2, there we go. We have successfully resetted our password. Reset it, sorry about that. Reset. Alright, so this is how we do password reset.